Mr. President.
Senator from Maryland.
Mr. President, I want to join this conversation, broaden it a little bit.
Come on.
In my view, we are witnessing the great betrayal during these last 44 days. We have the great betrayal here at home of the American people because the president promised certain things that he was going to deliver on, and we haven't seen those, and we see the great betrayal of our Ukrainian friends and our allies around the world and freedom-loving people around the world. Here at home, candidate Trump, of course, promised that on day one he was going to cut prices, that he was going to help working families. Last night, we witnessed the longest speech in American history to a joint session of Congress, and no plan was presented for lowering prices. Grocery prices are going up, rent prices are going up, home prices are going up. We did see Elon Musk in the gallery, the guy who said he wanted to take a chainsaw to important services that benefit every American family. And this is all part of a plan to cut taxes for very wealthy people like Elon Musk at the expense of everybody else. So in this 44 days, we've seen that great betrayal. But we've also seen the other betrayal. We have seen President Trump throw the Ukrainian people under the bus. I don't think any of us could have imagined a day when the United States sided with Russia and North Korea on a UN General Assembly resolution that condemned Russian aggression, where we voted with them and against our allies, against Ukraine, against all of our European allies, against all of our friends in Asia. Heck, even North Korea abstained. Even China abstained. So here we are throwing our allies under the bus. The folks that are openly cheering are the Russian leadership. I mean, this isn't just rhetoric. We've actually seen them expressing glee over the United States' position. And of course, they were very happy with the terrible spectacle in the Oval Office of the President and Vice President of the United States bullying President Zelensky. We've all met with President Zelensky. Nobody wants peace more than President Zelensky and the Ukrainian people. They have lost thousands of people. They have sacrificed a lot, but they want a durable peace, and they want a peace that will recognize their sovereignty and their freedom and their independence. That's what they want. We've all heard President Zelensky repeatedly thank the American people for our support. In fact, on one occasion, he brought an American flag signed by Ukrainian soldiers, expressing gratitude for all our help. And what he's gotten in exchange for that great sacrifice, a sacrifice that helps support freedom-loving people everywhere, is the back of the hand he received in the Oval Office. So I think this is a moment where we need to speak with moral clarity, and we should do it together as a Senate. We're not directing the negotiations. We're expressing simple truths here on the Senate floor. And the simple truth that I want to express here through the resolution that I will ask to be considered is that the Russian armed forces committed crimes against humanity and war crimes in Ukraine. It's pretty simple. And I would just draw my colleagues' attention to a resolution that was considered by this Senate back in 2022. I got it right here in my hand, S-Res 546, authored by Senator Graham, co-sponsored by then Senator Rubio, now Secretary of State Rubio. And what this resolution that the Senate considered just 3 years ago says, and I'm going to read it, the Senate strongly condemns the ongoing violence, including war crimes, crimes against humanity, and systematic human rights abuses carried out by the Russian armed forces and their proxies and President Putin's military commanders at the direction of President Vladimir Putin. That was the resolution we considered just 3 years ago. This resolution passed unanimously. Not a single senator objected. Now, of course, we have some new members of the Senate, but every single senator who was here at that time supported that simple statement of moral clarity. Two things have happened since then. In February of 2023, the Department of State determined that members of the armed forces of the Russian Federation and officials of the government of the Russian Federation have committed crimes against humanity and war crimes in Ukraine. And in September of 2022, the Independent International Commission of Inquiry on Ukraine concluded that war crimes have been committed in Ukraine by the armed forces of the Russian Federation. So the Senate adopted a resolution with these simple truths a number of years ago. Those truths were reaffirmed by the Department of State in 2023 and by the Independent International Commission of Inquiry in September 2022. And regardless of the state of negotiations, I would think that we would be able to reaffirm today the same truth that we expressed unanimously just a few years ago. And so, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the consideration of S-Res 111, which was submitted earlier today, and further that the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, and that the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Is there objection?
Reserving the right to object, Mr. President.
Senator from Mississippi.
Mr. President, my friend from Maryland and I participated in a bipartisan delegation on Friday morning last, where we met with the President of Ukraine before what we hoped was going to be a signing ceremony. There were a number of Democrats that met with President Zelensky. As chairman of the Armed Services Committee, I participated and chaired that meeting. The distinguished chairman of the Budget Committee was also there, and the President pro tempore of the United States Senate was also there, along with quite a number of Democrats. We were wishing for the very best because we thought a significant agreement was about to be signed that would move us toward a reconciliation of this terrible war. I was distressed. I was devastated even when I saw the conversation that took place later on that day. And I wondered if the damage could ever be repaired. Thankfully, the damage is being repaired, and we've had very hopeful signs of progress being made. I made the statement to the public and to members of the Armed Services Committee at a hearing just yesterday. It is time for those of us in the political realm who are not part of this negotiation to be silent, to take a deep breath and not do anything that could interfere with the excellent news that we saw coming yesterday, with a very fine statement from President Zelensky, with the quoting of that statement, with approval by the President of the United States last night. This is not the time for elected members of the House and Senate to be passing resolutions. Take a deep breath, let the negotiators do their work, and for heaven's sake, not do anything that might in some way be interpreted as being belligerent or counterproductive, and for that reason, I do object.
Objection is heard.
Mr. President.
Senator from Maryland.
Mr. President, I want to thank the Senator from Mississippi, the Chairman of the Armed Services Committee, for his commitment to this issue, to working to end the war in Ukraine, but to do it in a way that preserves the freedom and sovereignty of the people of Ukraine and is a durable peace. And it escapes me how reaffirming truthful statements that the Senate has made in the past can possibly get in the way of a resolution of this crisis. I would argue that it's the President of the United States who's gotten in the way of a resolution of this crisis, in the sense that, number one, he has clearly embraced Vladimir Putin in so many of his comments, and he went into this discussion by unilaterally giving away important leverage that's needed to result in a resolution that is a just resolution. You don't go into a negotiation by giving up the issue of American participation in security guarantees, however that might look. You don't go into a negotiation by unilaterally giving up on territorial concessions. And so this is why it's important, in my view, for the Senate simply to reaffirm the truths that we've already stated in the past. And this seems to be a simple one, that war crimes have been committed by the Russian army and that they have committed crimes against humanity. That's all this resolution says, and I hope that we can at some point come back and revisit this, because it's going to be very important to achieve not just a peace, but a just peace. And I yield the floor.
Senator Mississippi.
I'm simply responding and not attempting to prolong this. The negotiation process is underway. It may be that the negotiators are in different cities and in different continents at this point, but the matter is very sensitive. We should be very careful not to interfere with something that may make us all proud and give relief to thousands and millions. And I yield.